My name is Randy Schillers, and I am the manager of Virology. It was different. In the beginning, it was, you're hearing about something that was on the other side of the world. And then it turned into a global threat that no one in my lifetime had ever seen. From there, it was how would we go about testing for this threat for everyone in Missouri. One of the really biggest challenges was, I think, something that everyone saw throughout the country was getting supplies, because we weren't the only ones responding, everyone was responding. Getting supplies, getting materials so you could provide testing was definitely a hurdle. But also was like, no test existed for this. So from there it was finding a test, finding a platform to do the test, finding a way to do all of these samples to perform the test. We were getting assistance from the CDC. Back then the director was getting, contact from various organizations as well. So that kind of helped us lead us on what we needed to bring here and develop and adapt and everything else to perform the testing that we needed to do. A lot of it was learning as you go. This hadn't existed before. This was brand new and it was going very fast. Equipment to perform these kinds of things are expensive, and we just did not have the funds. The equipment we did have didn't have the speed or the spectrum of different organisms that we needed. And getting these funds is where we broke that gap. We were able to purchase machinery that could perform things fast, accurate, and for some of our equipment in a broader spectrum, which meant, yes, you were looking for, in this case, COVID-19, but what if it wasn't? So we now had an ability to test for things beyond just one organism, but a whole bunch of organisms to see what was causing this respiratory outbreak, because there are things still out there besides COVID-19, even though this was the response. For us, two major ones. One was the Liaison XL. It's a super fast-paced technology CLIA machine. For COVID-19, we started off with serology. So where we were looking for is antibodies in people. But we were also then, as testing developed for these companies even, brought on COVID antigen testing. So we were able to test for the virus itself in samples, but on a quick, large scale. So whereas before we were doing a lot of things by hand, this was an automated piece of equipment that can do 170 samples plus an hour. So that really sped things up. The other thing the Liaison could do is we had a lot of different smaller scale platforms that we did perform by hand that we were then able to move over to the machine. So we were able to condense testing and do it a lot faster. Some of these tests could take upwards to a week. We can now perform in a day. It also gave us an ability to start looking at other things in the future. So there's other tests that we hope to bring on someday and provide for the state, but we didn't have the equipment, and buying equipment is always a hurdle. This helped jump that hurdle because this equipment can do those tests as well. So it has expandability as time goes on. The other piece of equipment we bought was the BioFire torch. And the torch is not a high throughput machine, but what it is good at is looking for a bunch of different organisms all at once. With respiratory testing, for example, in a single swab, I can test for 22 different organisms at one time within an hour. So if you have a respiratory outbreak, yes, I can tell you if it's COVID, but I can tell you if it's one of these other 21 organisms as well. Giving these results in a faster, more broad spectrum turnaround, medical staff or epidemiological staff are able to respond quicker, helping everyone in the long run. We have a lot of departments besides just me. There's newborn screening, there's environmental testing. We do a lot of outbreak testing. There's a lot of factors that either directly or indirectly, we touch every Missourian's life. I think with that, people realize how important we as public health are.